Hi guys, my name's Seb Tudor, I'm the man on the Silver Mountain and welcome back. Today I want to talk about some YouTube stuff again, which is why I have my channel up here. Because as I'm sure you've seen, there have been numerous YouTubers making videos about this over the last couple of days, and ultimately it's about the YouTube restricted mode and some of the things that it is doing and the way that it works. And apparently the story so far seems to be something along the lines of the guys from YouTube were at PAX, and someone from their crew got drunk and spilled the beans on this stuff about how channels are rated, which is something that we weren't really aware of generally in one way or another. The fact that it will just hide things in restricted mode, including a whole load of topics seemingly that are ridiculous. It's the same with videos being unmonetized when they were completely innocuous. I've had a couple of videos completely demonetized that I've then contested and got the thing put back on for, that were possibly some of the tamer, least controversial videos that I've done so far, including one of Subnautica, which is just a really simple, straightforward game that's probably one of the least offensive and violent games on here, because it is mostly purely constructive and exploratory. But anyway, as a result, I actually wanted to come along and take a look at this stuff and take a look at it on my channel here, because obviously there's only a few months worth of content on here, and I've not done anything to piss anyone off yet so far in broad strokes. And as a result, it's more interesting to see what they actually remove, because as you guys know, if you've been watching for any period of time, including some of the guys that have subscribed more recently, which again, thank you. But the interesting thing here is that some of the stuff that they've taken is completely bizarre. And this is why I've got the PEGI ratings here and the ESRB ratings up, because I can understand if, for example, I don't know, Conan Exiles is an 18 certificate, as far as I'm aware, in which case, yeah, that being removed from the restricted mode version of my channel because, I don't know, you've got dongs flapping around in it, even though, granted, I've got those turned off in mine, the game as a whole has it there and has that as part of its rating, then, and again, with the ESRB, that would be an M rating, and so, yeah, I could understand that being removed as age gating. Torment Tides of Numenera here is a 16 rating, I believe, by PEGI, and I think that would probably equate to teen in the ESRB, right? Yeah. And so as a result, again, I could potentially understand that being removed from restricted mode, depending on where the line is drawn in restricted mode. Is restricted mode kind of 12 and below, or is it like anything that's PG or below ratings wise? But they don't seem to have followed that kind of structure, and they don't seem to have adhered to anything from film boards or anything from these two rating bodies here that are some of the largest on the planet. And as a result, it's a case of, what kind of guidelines are they following? What kinds of things are they actually trying to suggest and say with this? And again, like, even if you look at the gaming and fun stuff playlist that I've got here, it kicks off with Paladins, and Paladins is, I believe, a 12 certificate game, purely because of the violence in it. Even though it's not bloody or anything like that, it has some violence in it, and as a result, it's a kind of teen rated, or like early teen rated game. Whilst personally, Subnautica doesn't actually have a rating. I checked beforehand, but that's because it's been built from early access all the way up, and it's not something that's been thrown out there in a big way. It's very much kind of still verging on very well done indie game to a degree. But the thing that stands out about it is there's no kind of active violence, really. There are some limited parts of it, but then there are some scary parts, but it's more tense just because it's a survival game. And then you've got resource management, building, and exploration, which are all things that arguably can the same as Minecraft. And Minecraft is a much more kind of cartoony game, But at the same time, because you've got that there, and the comparison can be made, then you can say that it's probably more of a PG kind of open to everyone rated game. But as a result, though, seemingly it's controversial topics that are being removed, and the thing that springs out to me just before we actually take a look at my channel in restricted mode is that with what they're trying to do, making things advertiser friendly, approachable, all that kind of stuff, it's a case of, okay, fine, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but you're removing controversial topics, anything that has a certain tagline in it, and it's just like, but the controversial topics are what draw people. You want people to watch more videos on your platform. You want to bring in more people to actually start watching videos on your platform. In which case, you have to, look at the environment that you're in, and you've got talk shows, panel shows, discussion shows, question time, kind of talking head bits and pieces. You've got the talk show circuit with people like Dr. Phil, Jeremy Kyle, Jeremy Springer even. You've got those kind of shows, and they all had huge ratings in their time. I mean, you've got reality TV that has a huge draw even now that I don't necessarily understand, but it does. It's undeniable because of the insight that it allows people into other people's lives, which again is something that happens an awful lot on YouTube, especially within both very broad content and very specific content. And then further on from that, the news isn't rated, regardless of whether it's a horrific bombing in a part of the world or the local fate having a bunny rabbit race, off the top of my head. And so the news isn't rated like that. It's there to inform, and a lot of the content that seems to be getting suppressed is there to inform, even if it's potentially controversial. The interesting thing is that there doesn't seem to be any consistency to what they've actually done. And like, I can understand that certain areas, for example, lots of people have been crying out about the LGBT videos that have apparently been restricted or hidden, and I can understand potentially some of those being either more on the risque end or being expressing actually controversial topics. And also, I would imagine that this is an automated system which has basically just examined the title, description, tags, the thumbnail, whatever metadata there is for it to pull from, and then made a decision one way or the other. But there's, unlike when you have your videos demonetized, which I've had 2 of since I started, both on, in my opinion, completely innocuous videos, one of which was Subnautica. They don't, it's a dumb AI almost that's looking through those few things and trying to make a decision on it. In which case, with the demonetization, it's annoying, but at least you can contest it and you can get the monetization back if you've got, if there's genuinely nothing wrong with the video. As with the Subnautica video, I was like, well, why has this been removed? It's Subnautica. It's possibly one of the most harmless, tame games that you could ever have. Why has the monetization been removed? And then they put it back because I was right, But I can understand there being either elements in tags and things or whatever else that may have led the algorithm to pick those things out and remove them and put them behind this restricted wall. Because it's not even like a proper age gate. It doesn't even really seem to be kind of anything else. It just seems to be this weird blanket that they've thrown over half of their site. And again, there doesn't seem to be an awful lot of rhyme or reason to it, because they don't seem to have paid attention to things like PEGI and ESRB and movie ratings boards and things like that to inform what they're actually doing. But as a result, let's take a look at mine in restricted mode and see what comes up. So the first thing I noticed is that the what to watch next, and the uploads. Yeah, it says 100 plus videos. There are nearly 200 on the channel now, but it's only showing one that went up 4 days ago. When on the non-restricted, as you saw, there's a wall of 6 videos that are put there. You've got some of my earlier videos, fair enough, but then you've like, here's the interesting thing: the games and fun stuff one is completely devoid of content apparently, which is odd considering then if we click on the videos, and let's load more so that we can actually see what they've left. Yeah, there we go. That'll do. Well, we've got one video that's going up in a couple of days, so you can see that. But then, they've removed the race war video that I did, but apparently left the outrage culture, freedom of speech, and gender war videos that I've done. They've removed a good number off the end of my spectrum of a person. They've apparently also removed the beginning of the spectrum of a person with the video that I did on the nice guy kind of archetype. They've left one Torment Tides of Numenera video there, but they've removed all the others, so I don't know what made that one acceptable. But again, it's a 16 certificate game, so if anything, I would expect those to disappear behind an age gate that was PG specific. That's fine. But the Overwatch theory video, that's still there, even though I believe Overwatch is a teen-rated game. But then, scrolling down, controversial topic, we've got the social justice courses breakdown that I did from that article that detailed the ins and outs of the course. Ideologies versus art and computer games. Again, that's an arguably more controversial topic. Month in Trump, a month in review stuff, which is very specific to the things that have been going on, some of which have been controversial topics, like, say, PewDiePie, JonTron, Milo Yiannopoulos rather. Those are all there. They've removed, for some reason, all of the Subnautical videos apart from the 1 and number 3, which again seems odd to me considering it's a very kind of calm and fine game. But then they've left one of Darkest Dungeon. What else we got? They've left an awful lot of these, which again, fair enough, that's fine. But again, like, post-truth, potentially something that people could argue about. What the hell is wrong with the world? Which I believe I got kind of ranty in, But it's a case of, it's again another topic that could be more controversial. Cultural appropriation they've left. Whether or not that's just them agreeing with me because it's the truth in regards to what I said or not, who knows? But they've left it there. They removed violence but left anger and fear. What else? Yeah, and so they've removed all of the Paladins videos and things like that as well, which is just kind of really interesting, because then we just get down to the bottom. There's got to be, what, if each line is 6, then we're looking at 100 and, or maybe 120, 130 videos. So they've removed like 50 odd of mine. And the one that's the other YouTuber that made a video on this the other day that comes to mind was Jacqueline Glenn, who threw up a screenshot of basically her channel not existing in restricted mode. So I guess I'm kind of lucky, but that might just be because I haven't pissed anyone off yet. But again, it seems really inconsistent, considering that, again, some of these videos are, in my view at any rate, far more obviously controversial even though their news stories like this one was just me breaking down a news story, or their discussion topics like the one on cultural appropriation where I broke that down. It's a case of like they're there for everybody apparently, even in restricted mode. But then all of the rest of the Subnautica videos that I've done, which is again probably one of the more kind of cartoony, safe kind of games that I've got on the channel, that couldn't stay, not at all, had to go. It's like, huh. But also, it's like, as I've said, I'm as far as I'm aware, I'm one of the only kind of. In fact, I can't think of anyone in my group of friends or that I've met generally that I'm aware of their kind of viewing habits on YouTube who even uses restricted mode, because it just seems so pointless. Like, I can imagine people might turn it on if they have kids and they're kind of fearful of what they might see, but otherwise that seems odd. And it seems odd to me as well because you've got big kind of gaming YouTubers who only do gaming content and let's play stuff like Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, PewDiePie, and so on. And it just seems really odd because some of the those parents and that will sit down and watch that content with their kid, or who consider, as much as Jack and Mark swear and whatever else, they're still willing to put their kid in front of it, because as much as they're swearing isn't that much of a big deal as long as they're teaching, as parents, they're teaching their kids to appreciate what the word means and the significance of it, and that it's not just to be shouted around for no reason. It's a case of you've got that kind of element to it, which, again, you would have thought that if you've got people building bonding kind of situations around your site and the content on your site, then you'd want to just make that as open as possible. Like, again, if you're doing the PEGI/ESRB/ movie rating board or whatever kind of thing, then that makes sense. But at the moment, it just doesn't seem to add up. And I think this is part of the problem with YouTube, because they keep doing these things quietly. And it seems to be to try and, build things in their own interest, but they don't seem to realise that the people who are creating content for them, who are monetizing their videos especially, those people are essentially kind of contracted employees for their site, for their service. And so if you're going to continually dick them around, continually mismanage them, not give them the resources that they need to succeed, deliberately play favourites and stuff like that, or impose restrictions on them without telling them what those restrictions are, then, you're not speaking as someone that worked in management for a long time. If you're not providing your team the resources that they need to succeed, then it doesn't matter how friendly you are or how level-headed you are or whatever else. You're a shit manager because you're not helping them do the job for you. And I feel like that's where YouTube is kind of going at the moment. And whilst I don't think it's going, like, these things are necessarily going to cause people to leave the site, I don't think people are going to stop using it and so on and so forth. I don't think creators are going to stop posting to it either, because it is one of the, if not the best and largest kind of video sharing market that allows you to make money and make a living off it potentially as you go. That's something that's going to keep people here, sure. But the thing is, the more stress you put on the people essentially working for you, their work is going to deteriorate. They're not going to do as good a job for you. They aren't going to develop as fast or as much as you would maybe like them to. And as a result, you know, you've got someone like me that's been here for a few months. I've only got, 20 odd subscribers and a few thousand, nearly 2,000 views. You know, really, really small. With the first 100 subscribers supposedly being the hardest, and then, you know, gaining momentum after that being somewhat easier, but then you've still got to reach 1,000, and 1,000 is difficult. And then you've got people who have been doing this for a long time and have gone through all of those hurdles, and they've experienced all of the changing kind of areas and parts of the environment within YouTube as it's developed. And as a result, you know, they've demonstrated that the platform can be great. But unfortunately now YouTube is seemingly trying to grab for money without realizing what brings the money in the first place. You know, you've got people like Philip DeFranco, who is a great example of someone who has done very well on YouTube, and in spite of the fact that he's very straightforward, controversial, middle of the road, which means that everyone on either side will hate him as well, you know, he's still working with sponsors, working with other people to develop his things, and bringing in a substantial number of people to, you know, view and work with his content from the platform. I don't know, it just seems like the things that YouTube need to do are be more transparent, help the little guy because you need to cycle through your talent. They need to look for ways to maybe better categorize videos instead of just trying to restrict them. And they actually need to view the people creating for their site, like myself, like all of the bigger YouTubers, like the other tiny people like me, and all the people in between. You know, they need to bring those people in to a kind of umbrella that whereby they can recognize that those people are working for them. They are essentially contracted employees, and as a result, yeah, there's a bit more freedom than, say, if you were a contractor going into a company to provide a service for them. But if it weren't for the creators, if it weren't for all the people who started making video content at the beginning, if it wasn't for the people that then have blown up the site in recent years and who are sat on millions and millions of subscribers, if it weren't for those people, you know, then this site would have collapsed. Like so many other sites, so many other social media sites that have just disintegrated over the years. But anyway, I'm now starting to ramble. So that's my 2 cents. That was my look at it. Again, it just seems really odd the way that they're doing it, and there doesn't seem to be an awful lot of rhyme or reason. It seems to be an addition to their automated system, but if that's the case, then it's not doing a very good job, and it needs to be much, much better refined. Part of me feels like the things and the way that they test them are just really fucking poor. You know, the things like the community tab that would be useful for everyone, they throw out to a few hundred, couple of thousand maybe, people to try out. In which case, when you've got over 1 billion people on your site, throwing it out to a few thousand people you're not going to be able to monitor an impact. If you're going to open up a beta version of the site with a beta tool for use, then grant it to everybody if they opt in. You know, there could be problems with this addition to the site. If you don't want to use it because there might be problems with it, then, you know, we're not just going to force it on you until it becomes a full update. But if you want to opt in on the beta for it, then click this button. You know, it's why games have things like public test servers and stuff like that, because that way they can gain huge amounts of feedback and huge amounts of useful data. Yeah, but again, YouTube isn't taking a measured and methodical approach to these things. They're trying to do it all behind closed doors and it's not working. Anyway, I'm starting off again, which I can't do. So I thank you very much for watching, guys, and if you want to support the little guy in this, if you want to see how this maybe pans out, and have another interesting perspective on it, as much as everyone else is taking the initiative to make videos on this at the moment. You know, please subscribe, drop me a like if you thought the way that I'm looking at this and breaking this down is correct. You know, whatever. But thank you very much for taking the time to watch me, guys, and I'll catch you in the video tomorrow. Take care.